देखूं मैं चकोर की तरह, नाचूं मैं झूमर की तरह, बोलूं मैं कोयल की तरह, गाऊं मैं बुलबुल की तरह। मेरा मन बहलाते हैं बाबा, मेरा मन बहलाते हैं बाबा, जैसे सुरों में सरगम बजता है, बजता है।
मेरे संग संग चलते हैं बाबा, मेरे संग संग चलते हैं बाबा।
सोचूं मैं भंवरों की तरह, झूमूं।
Shanti, Sister Jayanti. I just want to say that it seems like time is going so fast. It feels like only yesterday. Our week starts on Monday with you, Sister Jayanti. So we quickly come back. So time is really running.
It's true.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
Om Shanti. Again, a very, very powerful Murli from Baba to boost our stage of self-esteem and to help us sit on the seat that Baba wants us to sit, so that truly we can be the masters of the self and in the future of the world. So Baba is the bestower of law and also the bestower of blessings. Very lovely combination, because when it's a law, then this is something you're expected to do. And then when it's blessings, well, the door of good wishes from God and all support and help and love opens up and we receive everything. And then Baba, in his compassion and kindness, constantly shares his titles with all of us. And so then Baba's saying, but you are also the master lawmakers and the master bestowers of blessings. And whatever it is you're doing now is going to be that which happens in the future. And of course, Baba's referring to last week's Murli also, and the portrait that Baba painted us, how Baba was teaching us to be the portrait painters, what should be the quality of the forehead, what should be the eyes, what should be the lips, what should be our behavior. I'm sure all of you remember that very beautifully. And in this case, Baba was saying, but whatever are the customs and systems that you observe now, these are the things that bring you the results of the future. And so your attainment of the future is through following the right methods and the customs and systems and the laws that Baba is teaching you today. And in the golden age, you don't have to remember the law, but you're automatically following the law and the reward is infinite. And then from the copper age onwards, when Bhagats remember those customs and systems and principles, and they observe them to whatever extent is possible for them, they also are able to attain success and the results of doing whatever it is they are doing, if they're doing it in the right way, in the right method. And then Baba spoke about the principles that we adhere to today. And so the first and foremost principle, that there is only one God, No human being can be God. There is only one who is the supreme, the one who is bodiless, the one who is the highest on high. And when we experience that elevated relationship with the one, it is through this that we're able to receive the reward of the future as our inheritance. But this is also something that continues in bhakti, because within all the traditions, people of that faith will surely say, God is one. There is only one God. I know that there are the non-theistic religions, in particular Buddhism, but that's a whole different understanding. But the theistic religions and the monotheistic religions in particular will say God is one. And then that also, of course, brings them a return. And in Bhakti, we remember the oval-shaped image of that light. From that light emerges that light in that form. And then we immortalize it in the form of the Kohinoor diamond, the first Shivaling that was created. And then through the ages, other images are also created. But also, from the Copper Age onwards, bhakti also becomes a little bit diluted, but yet still they remember something of this period, and that is the power of purity. For Brahmins, a basic principle is to follow purity on all levels. And when we do that, we experience the fruit of that. And the fruit of that, of course, is for us for half a cycle, the reward of that, the success of that. And then for bhagats, so many different festivals, holy days. And I'm sure this is also true in some of the other faiths. But when there is a holy day, when there is a festive occasion, then part of the system of preparation and of being in that festival is also following purity. And so it may be just for a limited period of time that they follow it. They don't have the understanding or the awareness that it should be lifelong. But even if it's there for a short time, that also brings them the success, the results of their bhakti. And so Baba then said, this is homework for you. Think about each one of the principles, whether in terms of our understanding of Baba's knowledge, or whether it's the principles in terms of our lifestyle. Think about all of these and see if you can connect it with the qualities of the period of the first half cycle and then the second half cycle, and how those customs and systems come about. And then Baba explained that in bhakti, when they worship the different goddesses or gods, they do so with a very specific intention, because they know that, say, for example, they go to Saraswati, and what they're asking from her is the gift of wisdom, study, education, the goddess of learning. Or if they go to Lakshmi, of course, you know that one, that they're asking her for wealth. So different aspects are taken from each one of the different deities in terms of success. So they will ask for that particular aspect of that particular god or goddess. And it's usually granted when they do it with a pure heart and clean intentions. But also then Baba said that this word that Baba was using, siddhi, the results or the success, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad word. Why Baba mentioned that is because in Hindi, it's usually riddhi, siddhi, occult powers. So riddhi, whatever process they're using, and then the siddhi, the result of that, the occult power bringing a certain result that they have in their intention. And so that, of course, can become not so nice, not so clean. But Baba was saying that for you, it's imperishable. The success is imperishable because you're following the method that God has taught you, vidhi. You're not using occult power, but you're using the right method, the right system that God has come to teach you. And that, because it's come from God, then the results are also going to be imperishable. Whereas the other occult power can bring temporary gain and then it'll disappear. So no need to think too much about that, but certainly the results that happen by following the right method, those results are going to be very powerful and long-lasting. And then Baba went on to say, well, if you're seated on that seat of your own position, then you won't have to face any opposition from Maya. And so what happens to you? Instead of remaining stable on that seat, something or another creates upset. But if you were set with stability on that seat, then you wouldn't get upset. And so position, opposition, set, upset, Maya was playing, Baba was playing with the English language words. And Baba made a very interesting difference between, firstly, you're given a blessing, you're given a position of self-respect, and you understand it, but the understanding is just theoretical. But even in that theoretical understanding, there is a feeling of subtle joy that comes in your heart, because when you understand something fresh and new, it's very nice. It gives you a good feeling. So there's subtle joy. But then the next step, you have to accept it. Say, for example, Baba's calling me the master benefactor for the world. Now, in theory, God is my parent, the bestower for all, the benefactor for all. I, as a child of God, I'm inheriting that title from God, master. In English language, the word master is used in two different contexts. One is the one who has gained mastery, and so the master ocean of knowledge. God is the ocean of knowledge, full stop, the only one. But the children also become the master oceans. But also in old-fashioned English, I don't think it's used so much today, but even 50 years ago, maybe certainly 60, 70 years ago, it used to be used that the son of the master of the house was called Master so-and-so, Master Robert, Master Thomas. And so whichever way you look at it, this title of master, bestower of blessings, or any one of the aspects that Baba gives us to raise our self-esteem and position us in that way, well, when I accept it, then there's power. Understanding it brings subtle happiness. Accepting it brings power. Inner power, of course. But the third step, to use that awareness and apply it in practice in my life, now that brings intoxication. Such joy that it can't be reversed or be lost, because the faith and intoxication now is really reaching a very high level. And so Baba said that, how come you let go of that position? And this is because you begin to have ordinary thoughts. For example, even yoga becomes part of my ordinary routine. Doing service becomes an ordinary routine. And so where my own thoughts are ordinary, even though something may be extraordinary, I don't feel it like that. I don't experience it like that. It's ordinary. And so if Brahman life begins to feel ordinary, then it's because I'm not accepting the titles that God is giving me. And maybe even deeper than that, my faith isn't yet so strong that I totally understand and totally accept and apply. And so very interesting comment from Baba that you don't have to do anything wrong. You don't have to do anything bad. But because Sangam Yuga is extraordinary, Baba is extraordinary, I also, the child, am the same. And so not to let my thoughts become ordinary, extraordinary, extraordinary. And so what I have to make sure I do is to check, are my thoughts of that caliber, of that stage that Baba wants me to sit at? Baba gave a very simple example. When you go to Baba's room, yes, you leave your bed, you go to Baba's room, or you go into the place where there's collective yoga going on, whatever it may be. You sit comfortably, and first you make sure that you are seated comfortably. But do you give attention to the positioning of the soul, of the intellect? Am I able to sit in that position in which I can feel comfortable and it can take me to an extraordinary different level? And so just as we definitely make sure it's the right chair, the right cushions, etc., and if it's not, we'll adjust it. But Baba's saying, okay, that's fine, sit yourself comfortably. But also, are you seated on your throne, on your seat, in a comfortable way? Because if you are comfortable, then set on that seat, you will never get upset. And so not just to treat it as an ordinary life, but to be aware of how extraordinary our lives really are. And then Baba also spoke about how to make yoga interesting and creative, and how if it's the same thought that you have every time you sit in yoga, no matter how powerful that thought may be, but what happens is if you're given the same food, no matter if you enjoy it the first day, the second day you'll say, same thing. You'll still enjoy it. Third day you'll say, yet again, the same thing. And by the fourth day, you probably won't want to look at it again. And so the buddhi reacts in the same way. I'm the master seed. I am an Avyakt angel. I am the bestower of blessings. I am a lighthouse. I am a might house. Any one of these titles in themselves are powerful and beautiful. But I need to keep experimenting with each one of them so that I get to experience the huge variety of experiences that Baba's offering me. And each experience will develop a different part of my personality and my behavior and activity. But if I just keep taking up the same thing, I'm a soul, I'm a point of light, well, that's good, no problem. But not all the time. Certainly not every single day. Yes, let it come in, but find a title that you want to explore and experiment with. And so give your buddhi something fresh every single day. Sakar Murlis also give us beautiful titles. Baba doesn't underline them in the same way like Avyakt Baba does, but every Sakar Murli will give you a beautiful title to experiment with, but also the Avyakt Murlis, of course, give you very powerful, beautiful titles to take up and experiment. And as you do this, you'll find that your yoga is full of freshness. Baba mentioned how if there isn't freshness, then you'll say that, well, I'm tired. But no, it's not the tiredness of the body. but you're not stimulating your intellect with something fresh and nourishing. And so before you sit in yoga, just reflect, which title do I wish to experiment with? Which experience do I really feel I need at this moment? And Baba will give you that experience. You'll be able to enjoy that time with Baba in a very rich and powerful and beautiful way. And so Baba giving us many, many different methods so that we can maintain a very high stage of consciousness. Baba said how, 6 hours pass, 8 hours pass, and you've been busy, busy, busy. And suddenly you think, what happened? Where did that time go? Yes, I know I did a lot of other things, but how come I didn't remember who I am? How come I didn't sit on that seat? And so it'll be a very sad reminder, because you'll have felt that 6 hours, 8 hours have passed by just in mundane consciousness, ordinary consciousness. And I could have used that time differently, keeping my consciousness elevated and doing the work that I needed to do in that stage of awareness. And then Baba was appreciating that the double foreigners had given time for the Madhuban Nivasis to meet Baba. And of course, probably we were still all in the hall, even though it was Madhuban turn. And Baba reminded them that Madhuban is the unlimited stage. Whatever is happening in Madhuban is being watched by the world. And there was a very interesting comment that Baba made. Yes, you might not want to hear about your greatness, but being reminded of your greatness with all your titles means that you remember to be applying that in your life and you become great. And so your titles become a shield to protect you from all the other energies that are flowing out around you. So stay within that protection of that shield of self-respect and make sure that you stay in that higher consciousness rather than allowing anything to pull it down on any level. And so Madhuban is a stage, and definitely we get to hear everything about Madhuban now. Of course, we were getting all those images 24 hours all the time of Pandav Bhavan, History Hall, Baba's room, and also the garden and also the Tower of Peace. So that was keeping us very well connected with Madhuban. But in those days, before all this technology, Baba was telling them, you are the children who are living in the place where Bap Dada lived. And so Madhuban means Baba. And when you're in Madhuban as a Nivasi, then everybody is watching you. Like they watch Baba, they watch Baba's children. So the first image was a stage. And then the next image, I was thinking, Baba predicts what technology is going to do way, way before the human beings get to do it. Because Baba spoke about how Madhuban is a dome. And so whatever you say echoes all around, all around. And of course, now we're getting all the information from Madhuban. Different people have different friends in Madhuban. And so everybody gets a plethora of videos and messages and information that's coming out of Madhuban. And so, yes, you speak and you touch one wall and the echo of that reverberates through 10, 11 other walls, but in this case, out to the world. And so Madhuban, the place where the children are truly representatives of the one who founded Madhuban, the one who still is ever present through the vibrations of Baba's room in Madhuban. And so Baba reminding them that you're living in a very powerful place. You have a very powerful legacy you can follow. And so just make sure that that is how your life is, to be the example for the whole world and to be the inspiration and the instruments for the whole world. So that was true then, but 88 Murlis we're reading now, but it's even more so true today because we have so much access to technology and everything is streaming live all the time. So I thought that was a fascinating passage to the Madhuban Nivasis, great for them, but also very, very applicable in today's reality. And so that is what is happening. Everyone's vision is focused on the stage. And so you know what's going on. So these are some of the highlights that I took from this particular Murli.
Thank you, gentlemen. Very nice, as always. Gentlemen, I know you shared about, well, Baba shared about having these entertaining experiences in meditation or in Brahmin life, but don't you think there's something to be said about doing something, like breaking through, doing something consistently? And I'm thinking particularly of Madhuban Nivasis who have been there for, 30, 40, 50 years doing the same thing. And they somehow don't need the newness. Like we often give the example of the brother in the milk department, every day, morning and night, he's just pouring the milk in the cup. So isn't there something to be said about sticking to something and, I see it as breaking through this sanskar of boredom, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming from that angle.
I think one of the beautiful thing about the Madhuban brothers is that they find ways to churn, and they share those churnings in the evening classes that happen in Madhuban. Even though the external duty is the same, but internally they're creating something new for themselves through the churning of Gyan. And what I've also seen is that so many Madhuban Nivasis, especially at this moment, they have their own areas that they cover through Zoom, and they're doing classes, so many of them. And so again, a very good incentive for churning and newness, and then the opportunity to share that. Many of the brothers go away out of Madhuban, especially during the monsoon season. I don't know whether there was a proper monsoon in Abu. I know that at one point they said very little rain had come. But usually when there was more stability in terms of seasons and more predictability about seasons, groups of Madhuban Nivasis would be out on service in all the different areas of Bharat, or even outside Bharat, like we saw for some years. And so I think that anyway, the churning that they do keep their minds occupied in a different dimension, so that the task that they're doing doesn't seem dull or boring. They're doing it, there's a need for it. If somebody else could do it, fine, they would be happy and they would do something else. But if that isn't the case, they're happy to carry on doing it day in, day out, year in, year out, decades and decades. This is the beautiful thing about the Madhuban Nivasis, that as I say, I think that there's avenues of exploration that are now happening.
Yeah, and I think the service is secondary, right? The mental progress, the yoga is primary. So just to stay with that, so gentlemen, are you suggesting that to conquer boredom in Gyan, we churn? Is that your solution? How does one conquer boredom?
I think that it's the churning that keeps the soul entertained. And also, of course, Baba talking about experimentation in yoga, that also is entertaining. And so just think about it. I begin the day with powerful yoga, and it's very entertaining. I've had a lovely experience. And then I come to Murli class, and I keep myself entertained through playing with the jewels that Baba's giving me, like Didi. Didi was a master at this. As she listened to Dadiji read the Murli, she would be making notes in her book. And she always carried, she didn't carry a little notebook, she carried a big notebook. And so she would be making notes in Sindhi. This is why I'm going in this direction, not the other one. It's the script from right to left. So she would be creating the questions that today continue with the Murli. When you see the headers with the Q&A, well, that was Didi's invention. And so she did that to keep her intellect engaged and attentive, because she would have read the Murli, she would have read the notes of the Murli, she would have heard the Murli on tape recorder so many times. But now, as a student, she was playing that role of being an obedient student, sitting in front of Dadiji, hearing Dadiji and making notes. So yes, I think that if we churn, then this keeps the intellect lively and engaged and gives us power, like Baba said.
Thank you. Nice. So, gentlemen, if we are the lawmakers, then why are we the first ones to break the law? And in particular at the copper age, why are we the first ones? I mean, surely we have enough sense, wisdom, certain amount of power. Or is it that we are first in that as well?
I'm not sure about the precise timings of everything, but just think about it. At that moment when the deities fall onto the path of sin, because they no longer remember that they are deities, they've forgotten their state of original purity. And as a result of that impurity coming into the world, there is actually a mini destruction that happens. And so before that, it is only those who were divine beings with purity. They lose that purity, upheaval happens, and there's the start of the copper age. And after that, everyone who comes is of the same ilk. They're all body conscious. Nobody has that understanding of soul. And so that state has changed completely. So it's not that because we were the first to be pure, we are the first ones to sin in that, tit for tat way, but it's a very logical continuation that these deities are the ones who actually step out of that world of paradise, and all remnants, all traces of paradise disappear, whether it's below the waves, below the earth, whatever it is, but literally they disappear. And then you're left with the world that we know about, and the history and geography begins to develop in the way that is now understood. So for me, that makes sense, that they're the ones on earth, they're the ones who forget. And so there's a domino effect after that.
Okay, thank you. The next question, gentlemen, is about success. And I know Baba explained very well, and he mentioned that our success is godly success. But at the same time, genuine, firstly, what is your definition of success in knowledge for us Brahmins at the confluence age? And then how to utilize or maximize that success for our progress with humility?
If I go back to this word siddhi, I've made effort and I'm getting the result of that. And so we've translated it as success, because that's an accurate translation also. So success means being able to see the visible return of whatever it is I've done. But sometimes it takes time to come. I'm remembering a particular sentence from this Murli in which Baba said, those who are the embodiments of success will never have the waste thought, well, I've done so much and I'm not getting any results, or I've tried to have yoga and I'm not getting anywhere with this. No, they'll understand that sometimes there's a time lag. I'm doing what I can do now, and I'm not expecting instant results. I'm willing to continue to do what I can do, and the results are going to come at their own good time. And so success is not always instantly visible, but results are definitely going to be coming. If I've done things with the right consciousness, then I see the results of that. Yes, if I'm thinking about the results of each one of the subjects, if I've understood Baba's knowledge accurately, I will be able to see the results of that in my life, because now I'm going to be engaged in doing good karma. I know time is short. I know that in a short space of time, I have to maximize the benefit I take from Baba. And so I'm doing what I can to apply those teachings in my practical life. And the more I do this, the more results I see, the success I see. And that is my happiness, my lightness, my joy, and the path becoming clear in front of me. The success in yoga, yes, I'm able to not just experience that lightness and that stage that Baba wants me to have, but I'm also feeling the lightness inside that comes as a result of the past burdens being settled and lifted, the alloy being removed, and now the soul begin to sparkle and shine. And so think about success in all of these different ways as results, and you'll see how any effort that we've made on a spiritual level with the right consciousness, we get the results of that definitely. Sometimes a little while. Think about Brahma Baba. And Brahma Baba in his lifetime physically saw the expansion into 400 plus centers across Bharat. But Baba always spoke about service in foreign lands. Well, Sakar Baba didn't see it, but Avyakt Bapdada made it happen. Angel Brahma is the one who actually served the world. Bapdada, of course, but Brahma Baba in the angelic form. And so what Brahma Baba didn't see in his physical time is now happening through the Avyakt period. And so it took time, but it's happening. And so not to have false expectations that it's going to happen like this, it may do. But even sometimes when things appear to happen like magic, there's usually a build-up. And that build-up has been consistent effort, using the right method, the right consciousness to do what I need to do, and bingo, there's amazing results that come out of that. So instead of using the word success, if I use the word result, well, there'll always be result. But I want to just explain one other thing that people sometimes get confused about, and that is that victory, Baba uses the word victorious many times, and also successful many times. Baba uses the English word also sometimes successful. But the word victory and victorious, that refers totally to the inner battle that I'm having with the vices. And that's not an external success on any level. It's very much an interior, internal thing. And yes, as a result of that, you do see that happiness and joy and lightness. But when I'm fighting attachments, when I'm fighting ego, it's going on inside of me. And when I've reached that state of victory over attachment, over ego, any of those things, then you can see it in the sparkle of my face and the beaming eyes and the smile. But it's really, victory is something inner, and success and results is something external.
Beautiful. Thank you, gentlemen. Nice. And just one other thing from the Murli, which is also, Baba said to, be set on your seat of self-respect. So could you explain that? What does that look like? Is it similar to what you just explained about the results? Just in a few words, to be able to, what's the feeling of being set on your seat of self-respect?
It's the experience of that particular title that you're experimenting with. Say, for example, Baba's called us the Master Bestower of Blessings. Well, firstly, I have received blessings from Baba, and I can feel that, and I can sense that it's blessings that are carrying me forward, not just effort and hard work, but as a result of whatever it is I've done, Baba's pleased and content with me, and so Baba's showering me with blessings. And so when I sit on this throne, on this seat, I'm feeling how blessed I am. And then I want to share those blessings with the world. And so in yoga, I'm with Baba, and Baba's spreading those vibrations of the blessings of his love and protection to the whole of humanity, to all his children. And even today, Baba said, the elements, even the physical elements, Baba is responsible for transforming those also. And so they too, in a sense, move from degradation to salvation. They're here, but there's that movement. And so when I'm in this awareness of being the master bestower of blessings, I have Baba with me, in front of me, and I feel Baba giving blessings to all. And so can I cultivate that sense, that experience, that feeling? But can I also keep this awareness through the day? And for anyone, even those having to use their heads, their brains a lot for their logic jobs, I'm thinking especially of our IT sisters and brothers who say that it's so intense that once they get into work until the moment that they leave, they scarcely have time to breathe. And so, and the intellect is constantly engaged. But even in that space where it's head work that's going on, not just physical work, there's a break for tea, there's a break for water, there's many little breaks. And so in those little breaks, can I at that moment come back to that experiment? Can I be the master bestower at that time? And it'll give a great deal of refreshment. It'll give a great deal of love and joy and lightness. And it'll create a beautiful atmosphere around you. And you'll find that you're giving a lot of happiness to a lot of people. And so the more I experiment with what Baba wants me to think about and feel, the more I can be Baba's instrument to share all of that with others.
Yes, Jayantiben, I think the key, as you said, is feeling it. Otherwise, Baba tells everybody, but it's the one who feels it, right, and shares it. Okay, Jayantiben, so we'll move on to these general questions. I've had a few over the phone. So Baba says that your give and take should not be with impure beings, but yet we buy things from the stores and we have exchanges with our relatives. So what does Baba mean by that? Don't have exchange with impure human beings.
With my relatives, what I can do is to, one at a time, just say to them, rather than engaging in expensive gifts and presents and cards, can all of us agree, or even some of us agree, that we'll give that money to charity? And if they tell you to choose your own charity, well, you can do that. But otherwise, if they say, well, let's choose a charity and we'll all donate to that. Well, there are some charities that are doing good work, and I'm sure you'll be able to find them. Maybe they're not the big, well-known ones, but there are some hospitals who do a lot of good work, things like this. And so can we then donate to that? So that instead of buying expensive presents and all the paraphernalia that creates, can we decide on a plan of action that's going to take things further? In terms of cards, I remember by the time I was about 12, I think, I had so many friends at school, and I wanted to send them all cards. And it would have been a bomb to have done that. And so I had to learn to discipline myself and send some cards, but also just greet others on the phone. In those days, phone calls locally were not so expensive. And so I would then find other ways to do it. So I think the same thing is true, definitely, in terms of presents and gifts. And there's so many ceremonies, birthdays and anniversaries, and the expectation is always this, but there can be a change brought about in that. Last week, I mentioned how one of our senior brothers here had told his daughters, I give you my blessings for your marriage, but I've given you an education, but I don't want to spend my money on a wedding. And both his daughters understood absolutely, and they still love him immensely, and they agreed. He wasn't stopping them. They found their own partners, even though it's an Indian family, but he was very content with the partners they found, and touch wood, they've had good marriages, happy families, all of that's going well. So that's a big chunk of money. Otherwise, that would go on alcohol and maybe food that's not vegetarian, who knows. And so he managed to use love, a lot of love with his family, but he managed to use gyan and yoga power to help them understand why he wasn't going to do what was the norm. He was going to do something different. And they accepted it. So just look at the situation you're in and see in what way you can turn it around so that really you are following your conscience. Money is such a big thing in the sense that if I give food to somebody, no problem. If I give money to somebody, do I know whether they're going to go get alcohol with it? Do I know they're going to get cigarettes with it? I don't know. And I can't control. Once it's out of my hands, I can't do anything more. And so it then becomes the exchange that Baba's talking about, not just the exchange with impure souls, but for impure purposes.
Yes, Jayantiben, I think you've mentioned that a few times now, to be very careful of money. Here's another question. Does Baba purify the soul directly in yoga by connecting with him, or does Baba only give the teachings and the soul, by following them, cleanses the karmic, burdens and creates the pure sanskars? So does Baba cleanse, or is it that the teachings help us to cleanse?
The teachings help me to understand what's going on completely. And Baba gives me the power then to apply those teachings in terms of doing good karma, because I can understand, but yet I need the power to be able to do it. And Baba gives me the power to do it, but also the actual cleansing in which the alloy from the past is removed. That's not just the understanding of knowledge. That is the fire of love, the fire of yoga. And that truly is God's role as purifier. If you look at the Sakar Murlis, Baba specifies, I have come to purify you. And this is what you called out for me in Bhakti. I haven't come for any other purpose. Yes, I'll give you the knowledge to teach you yoga. Yes, I'll tell you how to do good karma and give you an example of Brahma Baba and follow in his footsteps. I'll teach you everything. But my main purpose of teaching you is to purify you so that you can become Satopradhan. So God's role is huge. I myself on my own couldn't purify myself, and even understanding God's knowledge just in theory wouldn't be the process of purification. But it's yoga power, God's love, and that energy from God that's able to cleanse us and transform us and make us Satopradhan again.
Yes, nice, gentlemen. I think we have to help this person. They're saying, please, and gentlemen, this comes up often actually, how to make Amritvela an intrinsic part of my system. My health is not good. Maya is ruling over me. There's leakages in my effort. The Brahmin life is not that happy. So kindly guide how to make Amritvela. What's your yukti to make it an integral part of our timetable?
When there's a period of illness, then I understand that it's challenging. But illness is usually for a certain period of time. And if it's not just for a certain period, if it's inherent and it's long lasting and it's going to continue, then can I find a way to adjust my routine and make sure that whether it's early bed or a nap in the afternoon or whatever, but to try and make it for Amritvela. And if really, truly, it's not possible to make it for Amritvela, then to find an hour, whatever time suits the body and my timetable, and have powerful yoga at that time. It's difficult because the atmosphere of the world has changed, but then at least Baba sees my commitment to the subject of yoga and the fact that I'm actually focused on that commitment. So I think that intention is what Baba sees. And so if the intention is, yes, there may have been a period of illness, but I want to get back on track for that. So then Baba helps. If you have the intention, Baba will help you.
And maybe in a few words, Sister Jayanti, what is the difference between drishti and sakash?
Drishti is face to face, and sakash can be far away. That's not necessarily face to face. So that's a very technical thing. But of course, drishti can be very, very powerful. It is like sakash. And sakash, it's sometimes you can be in front of, like we were in front of Bab Dada, and we would feel the sakash coming from Baba. But generally it's when it's done remotely rather than face to face.
And somebody saying, if you've been in a relationship, you've been married, and you have the family, and you're just coming into Gyan, it's not easy to absorb these titles. Maybe if you're pure from birth, it may be easy. So how to have faith in yourself?
Today, I love Baba, which means I'm a Brahmin. I have the good fortune of recognizing Baba. And so I am a Brahmin. That's the first faith to have in the self. And Baba's told me that if I'm a Brahmin and I believe the knowledge, the Murli, that God is speaking through the mouth of Brahma, they say that deities were born through the mouth of Brahma. And so the mouth-born progeny, the Brahmins, are also the ones who become the deities of the future. And so start with that title. Do I believe I am a deity soul? And then experiment with all the other titles, slowly, slowly, one by one, and you'll get there. But this basic aspect of faith, I'm a Brahmin and I will be a deity. I was a deity. This is why I'm a Brahmin today, but that's also then my future.
Okay, thanks, gentlemen. And since we have a few minutes, I'd like you to share about what Baba said to you in last Friday's Murli when you were in front of Baba. I know you've shared with the London class, but I think this is an international class, so if you don't mind repeating. And it was very nice. So what was that? What was that going on with Baba then?
August 1966, and I'm in Madhuban, and I was 17 years old, and I haven't a lot of love for Baba, and enough to be sitting there in front of Baba for the Murli, but not really any realization of soul or God or anything like that. But somehow Baba saw below the surface, and what Baba did one morning was to say, the morning before, I'd been sitting in the front, all Kumaris, little girls, especially little boys, Baba would have them come and sit at the front. And so History Hall and Baba's Gaddi is here, and the children are there. So very close. And Baba said to me at the end of Murli, could I explain the picture of the ladder to the gathering? And it's just 30 people in Madhuban at that time. It's monsoon season. And the girl sitting next to me was Santosh, who would cook for Baba in the kitchen, tiny little kitchen near Baba's room. And Baba's meals were tiny, tiny, tiny portions anyway. And so Baba asked her to be my companion. And so Baba told her to explain to me the picture of the ladder, because I was seeing that for the first time. I hadn't seen that before. And so the next, that day, she was explaining to me about the picture, and I was helping her with chopping vegetables and things like this. And I had also asked what language could I speak in, and Baba had said English is fine. And that brought comfort, because I knew that most of the people didn't speak English. A few of the brothers did. I think about 3 of them, Dada Vishwakishore, Dada Vishwaratan, and Chandras Dada, these 3 brothers. There weren't other brothers around. There were younger boys, but not really any of the seniors we know. And so she explained, and it looked fairly straightforward. So that evening, 8:15, Baba was going to come at 8:30. So, and Baba told me, be a teacher and take a pointer, the stick, and point. And so I had the picture in the middle on the gaddi, and this was by the middle gaddi, and I stood and I explained. It was not so difficult. And I wasn't nervous so much, because most of them didn't speak English. It was okay. If I made a mistake, nobody would even notice. And they were just watching, you know. And I was looking at this picture, then I turned around and I saw Baba standing by the window, History Hall, and that passage that leads to Dadi's room. And then I got nervous. And so I quickly finished and went and sat down. And then Baba came in and Baba gave drishti and said, very good, very good. The next morning, Baba spoke this Murli. And I thought that Baba was being kind and generous and wanting to uplift me. And that's probably what Baba did with everyone who came. So I didn't understand it was a prediction. And when I realized that it was a prediction, was 2 particular instances. When I told Baba in 1968, June, I want to surrender and I want to stay at a center, Baba said, Baba knew it already. And then that scene came into my mind. 69, Baba's gone. We're meeting Avyakt Bab Dada, and Baba's asking me to come back to London. And that's when, first it was a year of tapasya. No doors were opening. Every door I tried was shut. I realized now it was very important that it was shut. It helped me deal with ego and thinking, oh, I can teach. No, you can't. So a lot of learning, a lot of tapasya. And then we got this opportunity to speak at the Spiritualist Association in Great Britain, in Belgrave Square, one of the exclusive areas of London, and gave the first lecture. We'd been allocated 4 lectures every Wednesday evening through December. And after the first lecture, it was a small auditorium, about 80 people. They're very nice and comfortable and in the heart of London. A woman at the back stood up and said, where did you get all these teachings from? Who is the person who's taught you all this? And I remembered that Murli and what Baba had said. So my answer was, these are the teachings that are being given by God in Mount Abu. And by then, of course, Baba was Avyakt, but I told them that this was the man who explained everything, didn't have any projectors or photographs or anything that I could show, it just explained. But again, that was a second time I remembered it very strongly. And it was exactly as Baba had explained. I just repeated the words that Baba had told me at that time, that yes, you can come to Mount Abu and you can experience this for yourself and all of that. So it was a very specific prediction, not just a boost for me. At that moment, I hadn't understood, but Baba knew. And so Bab Dada, I think both of them are able to forecast the future.
And how do you feel when you hear your name in the Murli, Sister Jayanti?
I have to be detached so that I can read it to others. But when I read it, then that whole scene comes to mind, and a lot of love, a lot of gratitude, a lot of appreciation of the life that Baba has given.
Yeah, and a boost, I think. You get a boost that day. So thank you so much. Lovely. Everybody's enjoying it. And thank you everyone for joining. And we'll have a couple of minutes meditation. Thank you, Sister Jayanti.
Thank you, Aruna. Thank you to everyone.